Excited to be with you. I've been sharing lessons from each chapter from my new book. So you're telling me that there's a chance. And we're wrapping this up and we're talking about leadership. We're talking about people who want to make a difference in other people's lives, to impact others, to inspire others, to influence them in the right direction, and to ignite the champion inside of everyone. My name's Stephen Greek. I'm a Texas high school football coach, a 4-time state champion. And more important than that, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I am a champion builder. And that is a calling that I believe that I have on my life. And I'd like to share with you from chapter 18 out of my book, Reach for the Next Generation. In September 1849, Harriet Tubman, born Araminta Ross, around 1822 on Maryland's eastern shore, escaped the brutal grip of slavery. A blow to the head as a teenager left her with lifelong narcolepsy and visions she interpreted as divine, but that trauma became the forge for her mission. At 27, she slipped away from the Bucktown plantation, trekking nearly 90 miles to the free soil of Pennsylvania. The joy of freedom, however, was bittersweet. I had crossed the line of which I had so long been dreaming. I was free, but there was no one to welcome me, she told her biographer, Sarah Bradford. The cost of liberty was leaving her husband, John, and family behind. But Tubman didn't let her story end with personal freedom. By December 1850, after the passage of the Fugitive Slave Act made such efforts even riskier, she returned to Maryland to rescue her niece Keziah and her children, igniting a calling larger than her own escape. Her actions were not reactive, they were redemptive. Over the next decade, Tubman conducted an estimated 13 missions and directly rescued about 70 people, family and friends mostly, according to historian Kate Clifford Larson. She also provided support and guidance to many others who traveled the Underground Railroad. Quote, "I never lost a passenger," end quote, she famously declared. A statement not of pride, but of profound responsibility. Armed with courage, faith, and a revolver, she led by moonlight through woods and swamps, using coded songs and safe houses as her compass. Tubman earned the trust of leaders like Frederick Douglass, who once sheltered her fugitives in Rochester, and John Brown, who admired her fearlessness and strategic mind. In June 1863, she guided Union troops in the Combahee River raid, freeing over 700 enslaved people, the only woman to lead a U.S. military operation during the Civil War. Her wartime efforts earned her the nickname, quote, General Tubman, end quote, among soldiers and abolitionists, a tribute to her tactical prowess and indomitable will. By the time of her death in 1913 in Auburn, New York, Tubman had become a living symbol of selfless leadership. Frederick Douglass once wrote to her, quote, "The midnight sky and the silent stars have been the witnesses of your devotion to freedom and of your heroism," end quote. She bore the scars of bondage, yet her legacy carried a promise of liberty for generations. Tubman didn't just free slavery. She went back again and again and again, refusing to hoard her freedom. Her reward was not wealth or fame, but a transformed nation and a torch passed to the civil rights movement a century later. Champion leaders can draw from her example. Widen your vision beyond yourself. Lead with conviction and serve with selfless courage. Her life reminds us legacy is not what we do for ourselves, but what we build for others. Quote, "Legacy is not what I did for myself. It's what I'm doing for the next generation." Vitor Belfort said that. And this is from my new book. So you're telling me there's a chance. This is the last chapter of the book. and we're talking about reaching for the next generation. And we just looked, opening the chapter, at Harriet Tubman, 13 missions, the Underground Railroad, sneaking and freeing people and helping them and with very little to gain for herself. But there was, on the other side of her own freedom, she realized that there are others who need to experience this freedom. And I'm talking to leaders tonight. No matter whether you're a young person or you're an older person, if you've ever tasted and experienced the freedom. A few sessions ago, we talked about hurt people, broken people break people, but healed people heal others. If you've ever experienced freedom, you want others to experience freedom. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I have 3 sons. They're young men now. Our older 2 are engaged to be married. And my wife and I are going to be gaining 3 daughters. And there's this responsibility that I feel as a husband and as a dad, that I want to be my best and I want to help leave and live a legacy for my own children and my children's children that aren't even born yet. And I want you to understand that when we look at this theme, reaching for the next generation, when we have a perspective that, like, I want to taste freedom, but I want others to taste freedom. I want to share the lessons that I've learned with others. There becomes this mission, this purpose, this passion, this power that drives the leader, the champion. And this isn't for everyone. It can be for everyone, but this is not for those who are okay and content with mediocrity in their own life. And this is for someone who wants to reach through and to the next generation by impacting the world around them now, today, to be the best we can be. I want to be the bridge to the next generation. You know who said that? MJ, Michael Jordan, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Michael Jordan said, I want to be the bridge to the next generation. Michael Jordan, just in the arena of basketball, inspired thousands and thousands of young men and young women to if they could only be like Mike. Imagine if your life inspired your own family. Does your own family, those of you that have a family, does your own family want to be like you? Do they want to be like you, Dad? Do they want to be like you, Mom? If you own a business, do your employees, do your assistants, do your coworkers want to be like you? If you don't own the business and you're just a regular employee, do those around you, are they inspired by your work ethic, your attitude, what you bring to the table, the energy that you bring when you walk into the room? We're talking about leadership. We're talking about living a legacy. We're talking about leaving a legacy. And we opened up talking about Harriet Tubman rescuing 13 missions in the Underground Railroad, saving lives, estimated over 70 people saved. This is the kind of legacy that you and I as leaders should aspire to live, not just for ourselves so that we can taste freedom, but so those who will come, those who are around us and those who will come after us are inspired by you, how you live, how you lead. To lead with the future in mind is to plant seeds of transformation that bloom long after we're gone. That is from Jonas Kale. Think about that. When we lead with the future in mind, that the decisions I make today are affecting me, but they're also affecting people I've not even met yet. Quote, regardless of whatever I do, I know that my purpose is to make a difference in people's lives, end quote. You know who said that? Tim Tebow. I'm sure that comes to no surprise that Tim Tebow would say something like that whatever I do, I know my purpose. My purpose exists to make a difference in other people's lives. That's why we talk so much about on this channel and in my books, we talk about building champions, because champions understand that their job isn't just to sit back in a recliner. Our job is to inspire others. not with words only, but with the life that we live. It's to impact people in a positive way. It's to influence them to steer their life, their compass, to know where the true north is, and to live their life in such a way where they're every day we're climbing toward that by faith, right? And that when we do that, we ignite the champion inside of everyone. Listen to this quote. Long-term vision is a leader's sacred duty. Planting seeds today for the forests of decades hence. End quote. That's from Professor Leora Solt. And I think about when my wife and I first purchased when we purchased our very first home. This was 20 plus years ago. And we were so excited. We went to the Home Depot or Lowe's or both and Walmart, and we bought some plants and we bought some baby trees. And we planted those trees in the front yard. And every now and then when we visit home, we drive by and we see those trees that used to be, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet tall. And now they're 12, 15 feet tall all these years later. I don't remember thinking that afternoon when we planted them and then we would water them. I knew they would grow, but I didn't say that, okay, 10 years from now, they're going to be this height and then 5 or 10 more years, they're going to be, it just happens over time. But we planted the seed, we watered the seed, and that's what we do as leaders. If you're a young person, you can do that in your own life and in the lives of others. If you're an older person, if you're a grandparent, you can continue to plant seeds in the hearts and the lives of your loved ones, your neighbors, your friends, and your family, and you can live and leave a legacy that will make a difference in people's lives for generations to come. I believe that. I believe that what you do matters and what I do matters. It's why we take time to teach on this and encourage people to be their best, because we do believe it matters. Dolly Parton, you might have heard of Dolly Parton, country music legend, songwriter. She was dominating the charts in the 1980s. Her tunnel vision locked on fame and tours, but losing her father, who never learned to read, in 1987 cracked her heart open. Quote, "I thought about Daddy and all the kids who'd never get a chance like I did," end quote, she said. Her voice filled with grief. In 1995, she started the Imagination Library, mailing free books to kids, a tribute to her family's struggles and a gift to her nieces and nephews. By 2025, Dolly's program had sent over 200 million books. And she beams with joy. If I can help one child feel the joy I felt with a book, then I've done something eternal. She mentors parents and teachers, her legacy alive in every bedtime story read by friends and loved ones. Families see her as kinfolk, a reminder that leadership can turn personal loss into a lineage of learning for generations. I mean, think about that. Dolly Parton, a superstar, country music legend, songwriter, inspiring many. When she lost her father, she was reminded that her daddy couldn't read at the level he wanted to. And so she decided that I'm going to start a foundation, and that foundation is going to send free books to children all across the states. And those children are going to get books, 200 million books sent to children across the nation, inspiring children to learn how to read, which is a lifetime skill. That is a legacy through the life of one person. See, that's what I think sometimes we think so small of ourselves. Like, I can't. You don't know me, Stephen. If you knew me, I'm nothing special. I think we tell ourselves these lies, or we've listened and learned to believe lies that were spoken over us. And I want to tell you that you are a champion and that you can make a difference, that you're an overcomer, that you're a conqueror, that you are created on purpose for a specific purpose, and you get to go live on purpose. And when we see that, we start to pray and seek out opportunities. Our antennas go up, and we start to hear conversations and say, like, man, they must be hurting. I've got some encouragement, some wisdom that I can speak into their life if they're ready to listen. And I can do it in such a way that's loving, kind, respectful, if they would like that. And if they don't like that, then I can just be a friend and I can be here to listen when someone's going through a tough time. You can bring the lessons that you've learned, the tough times that you've walked through, as an inspiration to others, to let them know they too can overcome. They can overcome a rough childhood. They can overcome a rough teenage life. They can overcome the loss of a loved one. Like, you have a story, and your story is still being written, but your story can encourage many, many people. Listen to this. Resilience taught now becomes the shield of tomorrow, arming future leaders to stand tall amid storms. If you haven't noticed, our world is going through a lot of stuff, right? You turn on the news, you turn on social media, there's a lot of negative stuff. We don't bury our heads in the sand and everybody join hands and sing Kumbaya, everything's all great. It's not always great. It's not. But like, as a leader, when I was in high school, I played quarterback. And I remember being trained like, hey, whether things are going great or whether things are going terrible, the quarterback has to stay steady. He's got to be a guy that people are willing to follow. You can't panic when things are going bad, and you can't get too cocky when things are going great. A great leader is confident and humble. They're strong and they're under control. And y'all, sometimes we feel like there's so much that is outside of our control, right? That it's like, oh my gosh, well, we have to learn to focus like on the things that I can control. I can control my effort. I can control my attitude. I can control my work ethic. I can control the energy that I bring to the table. I can't control a lot of outside of me, a lot of external stuff. I can't control how people act, behave, respond. I can't control the people that are at work or at school or on my team or in the locker room or in my business. There are certain measures of guidance, but at the end of the day, we can't control other human beings, but we can sure walk by faith. We can sure walk with confidence. We can sure walk and live in such a way where we believe that we're living a legacy and we're going to leave a legacy for those who come after us. Just like Harriet Tubman. She experienced freedom, and then she realized, I'm by myself. On the other side of freedom, I'm over here by myself. So she kept going back, Underground Railroad, 13 missions, sneaking people, bringing people from slavery into freedom. Just think of that. If we had just 1 ounce of the courage, the faith, the boldness, the willingness to risk, sometimes I think we're afraid of maybe what people will think if I say this or if I do that. They'll think I'm silly or I'm a fanatic. But I do believe that when you know that you're created on purpose, for a purpose, and you live with a purpose, there is a faith that guides you. And there is a light that shines inside of you, and you'll know when to speak. You'll know when to listen. You'll know when to push, and you'll know when to pull. And those are the types of things that leaders possess, and that's the things that we want to train ourselves and equip ourselves to build others up. Listen to this. The smallest act of leadership can ripple into a tide of good, proving a few can indeed shift the many. End quote. That's Soren K. Tile. Sometimes all it takes is just one person to rise up and say, you know what? We've been average. We've been mediocre. I'm a coach, and I've had the privilege of coaching so many amazing young men and young women over the years, 3 decades. but I've also coached business owners. I've coached people in their marriages and relationships. I've coached people in their parenting strategies and techniques. And coaching is coaching. It's trying to call people up and take them to a place where they can't quite go on their own, to equip them with the schools and the skills and the techniques that it takes sometimes to get to that next level of leadership. But the other side of that is I'm just a coach. Like at the end of the day, you can't want it for the team. They have to want it for themselves. You can paint the vision, you can paint the blueprint, you can say, this is how you win state championships. This is how you win in life. This is how you win on the field, off the field, on the court, off the court. But people ultimately individually have to buy in. But what I do know is if as a leader, if we don't paint that vision and paint that blueprint and help people understand their purpose, it's going to be hard to know where is the target. Is the target over here? Is it over there? Is it over? I don't know where the target is. And that's what leaders do. That's what you can do for your family. That's what you can do for your business. That's what you can do for your football team. That's what you can do for your children. That's what you can do for your grandchildren. You can paint the vision about where you're personally headed, and in your own way. Like, we all have imperfections, right? And you can say, you know what? We're heading here. We're not perfect, but this is the standard. This is what we're reaching for, man. We want to love people. We want to serve people. We want to care for people. We want to inspire people. We want to impact people. We want to influence people the right way. And we want to ignite that champion inside of everybody. And that's the challenge of being a leader. Leadership is sometimes lonely. Sometimes leadership, it's extremely challenging and hard, because sometimes we're calling people up to a level that either they're not ready to go to, they're not mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally prepared to handle the calling. So then sometimes as leadership, we set the bar so high that people can get discouraged, and then we have to reevaluate and say, wait, maybe we need to adjust this a little bit. Not that we lower it, but we also, when you're in leadership, sometimes we want people and things to change now. And sometimes there is relatively what you would call instant success. And other times it's what we talked about. It's like planting a tree. You put the seed in the ground, you water it, and it slowly grows. And you come back 5, 10, 15 years later, and now it's finally starting to look like a tree. And I think that is sometimes me. That's sometimes you. And that's definitely the people that we are leading and loving. Listen to this. The life of the nation is secure only while the nation is honest, truthful, and virtuous. That was said by Frederick Douglass. And it's a reminder, because we opened up this chapter, the last chapter of this book. So you're telling me there's a chance. We opened it up by sharing the story of Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, that she experienced freedom, escaped, and then realized like there was no one to share that freedom with. So she started going approximately 13 missions, secret missions, saving and helping others escape slavery and move to the side of freedom, and helped other military generals and leaders set another 700 people free. Harriet Tubman, a legend, a legacy builder. And she did it because she felt called. And I may be talking to somebody today that you feel called, like there's something in my heart. There's a little bit more. I got more lives to inspire and change. I'm talking to school teachers and principals and administrators and school board members. Like, you do what you do. School board members, they work all day. They serve on a board. They field a lot of complaints, a lot of phone calls and emails and leadership. And sometimes that's part of the job. But like, people that want to truly serve, they want to make a difference that's well beyond their own lifetime. I'm talking to the mom, the single mom. I'm talking to the dad that's working 2 jobs and coming home and loving his wife well, and trying to raise young men and young women to be champions. I'm talking to the high school or college or professional coach that is putting in a lot of time. And I'm talking to the band directors. I'm talking to the National Honor Society students, maybe the kid that's not the athlete, but they are studying because they want to be that first young person to go to college and graduate with a college degree because that maybe wasn't the type of family that they were able to come from. I'm talking to the trust fund young people who are second or third generation of wealth, and the vacations and the mansions and the cars are great, but they don't satisfy. We all were created on purpose, for a purpose, to live on purpose. Have you discovered your purpose yet? So you're telling me there's a chance that you're telling me that I was put on this planet to make a difference in other people's lives? Sign me up, because that is a life of not success. It's a life of significance that we're chasing. If you like that, comment below and let us know what you think. Like, share, follow, repost. We're trying to get this message out to anyone who will listen, who you may think of someone right now who needs to hear this, a friend who's down, discouraged, depressed. They're going through a tough time. They need some encouraging words, and that's who we want to reach. But we also want to reach the ultra successful people, that the people who own a business and they've got thousands of employees, and they know that that message sometimes falls on deaf ears, and they need a coach to come in and speak like a pep rally and say, hey, here's the battle cry. Here's where we're headed. Here's why we do what we do. It can't all be just transactional. It can't be transactional relationships in family. It can't just be transactional relationships in sports and in coaching. It can't just be transactional relationships and, here's your paycheck. I mean, yes, a job is a job. It's a job. I mean, you got to work for it. And there was a song in the 80s. She works hard for the money. So hard for you, honey. All right. And what's that other song? Working 9 to 5. We were talking about Dolly Parton. I think Dolly Parton was in a part of that song. Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living, right? It's like work is hard. It's supposed to be hard, but hard isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be a good thing because we learn a lot and we discover a lot about ourselves. But man, if you're working hard and you're working a lot and there's no purpose behind the work, there's no significance, you don't feel like you're making a difference in the life of somebody, I want you to step back. There is probably someone next to you in the office that needs some encouragement, need an encouraging word, a listening ear, a high five, a hug, a pat on the back. You know someone maybe in your neighborhood or at your church, in your city, that needs a voice of encouragement. Listen to this. Listen to this. Quote, by gifting our lessons, we arm future leaders with the tools to rise above our failures and soar. That's from Professor Leora Tile. Quote, our stories of struggle and success are the legacy we leave, a guide for leaders yet to come, end quote. Talia J. Vore. What we're talking about, like social media, it's a 15-second highlight reel, but very few people, myself included, I don't believe that it's healthy to air all of our dirty laundry, right? All the skeletons in our closet, all the dirty laundry on social media. People get on there sometimes and they just, what do we call it? TMI, too much information. But like at the same time, like we have to understand that when people post things, and that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a highlight reel. It is a success. It's a glimpse into success, but also at the same time, there is power in sharing your struggles, in sharing your struggle story, and then share not only the struggle, but share the victory. How did you get to a place of victory? You may be listening tonight. You're like, I'm still right in the middle of the struggle. Well, guess what? So am I. But we get to choose our energy. We get to say, you know what? I'm right in the middle I'm in the valley, but I know I can see the mountaintop and I'm climbing, baby. I'm climbing. I may be in the valley, and I've been in the valley before, and yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil, for you are with me, right? I'm in the valley, but I'm pressing on toward that mountaintop experience. And that's what we do as leaders. That's what we do as champions. A leader's journey, with all its stumbles and triumphs, becomes a treasure trove for those who follow. That's from Jonas Soar. Y'all, listen to what these leaders are saying. They are talking about the struggle and the success. They're talking about the stumbles and the failures and the triumphs. That's a big reason why I wrote not only this book, but many more to come. About 7 years ago, I was journaling. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, I had a close friend say, hey, you need to write a book. And so I started writing a book, and then I thought, man, this is a lot of material. I think this might be 2 or 3 books. And then over the last couple of years, I've been compiling and writing books, and we've got books coming out about every 60 days for the next 2 years, y'all. We've got a lot of material that's going to be coming out. So you're going to want to stay tuned, because there's going to be something that we share that's going to change your life. There's going to be something that we share that's going to change the life of someone you love and care about. The messages in here, they're not my messages, but they're the stories of other leaders and people who have gone through stuff that you've gone through, and they came out on the other side victorious. They learned some lessons, and that's what we're talking about, is that the journey, that's why I wrote this stuff, is like, my wife and I have 3 sons, and I was like, man, if something were to happen to me, I want them to know some of the lessons that I've learned as a man, a husband, and a dad. My older 2 sons are going to get married this spring. They just got engaged over Christmas holidays. It was awesome. And we're gaining 2 new daughters through marriage this spring. All right. And we're happy about that. But it's like, man, when things happen and life comes at you fast, it's like, well, I want to share some of the good things about life and love and family and marriage. And oh yeah, there's some tough times about life and love and jobs and family and marriage. I can't just tell them all the good stuff. I can't just tell them all the bad stuff. But I got to tell them how to get through the bad stuff, and I got to tell them to keep their eyes on the good stuff. And so you're telling me there's a chance to walk through life with victory and energy and excitement? Yeah, there's a chance. You mean even when you're going through tough times? Absolutely. Your tests become a testimony. The mess becomes a message. And that's what we're saying. So if you're going through a mess right now, be encouraged, because there is a message that you're going to be able to share one day to your friends, your family, your loved ones. Listen to this. Legacy demands a leader's deliberate hand, crafting a future where growth and vision endure. That's from Dr. Alara Solt. Our legacy lies in the challenge we embrace to ignite future leaders with the spark we tend now. I think that's why, for me, every day matters. Everything matters. Every day. I don't want to waste a day. Now, some days you feel like bringing it, and some days you don't. But I don't want to waste a day. I want to make sure that every day as a husband, I tell my wife, I love you. I appreciate you. You're wonderful. Do we have disagreements? Yes. That's the dynamic of the human element in the relationships and living life together. I want to tell my sons, I love you. You're a champion. You're special. I want to tell the young people that I coach, I want to high five them, fist bump them, give them some word of encouragement that whatever they're going through with their family, with their challenges, to look up for strength, to look inside and reflect and see if there's areas of growth that they need to personally address, and then look out. Look out. Everybody within 6 feet is carrying something that we don't see. Maybe you can be a blessing in their life. This is what it means to be a champion, to impact others, to inspire others, to influence others, and to ignite the champion inside of yourself and others. My name's Stephen Greek. I've written this book, so you're telling me there's a chance to begin that journey and start that process. We're on all the socials. You can check out our website. But like at the end of the day, I can't change your life. I believe there's only one who can. But when we get that right, and then we start to get in alignment with the principles and the wisdom from other leaders, the lessons that they learned, the good things, the bad things, and the things that help make us successful, what starts to happen is we change. we become more, and then those around us become more. So if you like this material, please like, share, follow, repost, and check back with us, because we're bringing a message that's going to change people's lives, and we're building champions. Have a great day.